In this video, I would like to demonstrate how to use the AWS Amazon Athena connector for the Axway API Builder. I have already created an API Builder project, which I have then finally started to get my API Builder console. And right now, the AWS Athena connector is not yet installed. In the future, in one of the next versions, API Builder will support that the AWS Athena connector will then be part of that list here. For now, it's not yet listed, but I can install that connector anyway. I go into that API Builder extras repository, and in here we have a number of packages, and I'm just looking for that package AWS Flow Node AWS Athena. And in here, I can say I would like to have that thing using npm installed. And to install that, I just stop my API Builder project and say I would like to have that thing installed. So that takes a second. Okay, and during installation, or when the installation has been finished, and it is saying that there is now a new configuration file copied into the configuration directory of API Builder. And we can review that configuration file from the API Builder UI again, going back. And now I can go into configuration, and here is that AWS Athena default file, because that connector requires centralized, provide the AWS credentials you need in order to communicate. So let me just take over the access information for my AWS account and this one here, and save that. In the background now API Builder is started. And now my AWS Athena connector is ready to go, and I can go and use it as part of my API implementation. I don't have any API ready now. I just say that I use the default greeting API, which is requiring a username, and then it greets to you. And I don't do any sophisticated thing now. But you see here, as part of the flow editor, you see now there's an AWS Athena flow node, and which now requests me to provide a number of information. For instance, it needs to tell me what should be the database, and I know there's a sample database AWS provides automatically. Then there are a number of fields I would like to get back as part of my query I'm performing, and I would like to have the table ELB logs queried. And the limit, I just skipped now, it's default to 5 elements anyway. So let me just execute that right at the beginning. And when this is successful, then the result should be written to the variable result. And we can take that and response that result back to the user. I'm saying the status should be 200, and the body should contain maybe the result, whatever that is. Let's see, maybe we can tune it later. And now let me just say there is a username. I have to provide that variable because it is part of the API definition. I execute that flow. Obviously now that takes a second because AWS needs to be contacted. But now you see that the result contains the status information, and there is a body, and there are a number of items. And now I can go and can say, for instance, I don't care about the status. For me, it is only interesting to see maybe the body. And this is obviously an array. And let's say if I I think we are okay to say I would like to see all the items. So that takes again a second. That doesn't work. Let me try that again with the other version. I made a mistake. No. It's interesting. Okay, but anyway, you see there is now an ELB name, which is what I have requested. There is an request port, and now I can also say I would like to take the request IP. Of course, it depends on the table and the columns of the table available. But with that, you get that information, get as part of the context in your API Builder flow, and then you can combine that data with other things. So that's all I wanted to showcase about AWS Athena and the API Builder.